Hey folks, it's Laura with Raintree Nursery, and today we are in Eugene, Oregon, and I'm visiting the home of an old friend that I've never actually gotten to see his place. This is Jan Spencer. I know Jan through the permaculture convergence community, and I've seen him give lectures on this place, but I've never actually gotten a chance to be here, so I'm really delighted to see your spot.
Well, it's nice to be here, Laura. Welcome.
Thank you. He's got a lot to show us, so let's go see some things. So, how long have you been here?
I moved in 20 years ago. A friend of mine's wife owned the house, and I just ended up buying it.
Nice. Keeping it all in the family, right?
Well, it turned out well.
Well, you've made some amazing changes here. I mean, look at this. This is the front yard, right?
It was a grassy front yard. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And look at all of the beautiful food production. And here we are. We're at the end of the growing season, so things are starting to wind down.
They're winding down, yeah.
But everything still looks really productive and lush.
No, we haven't had a freeze yet. It's definitely winding down. But yeah, it looks awesome. There's really some nice espalier apples over there. Those are only about 3 years old. So this was just a grassy front yard, and the intention from the beginning when I moved here was to do a permaculture makeover. That was the plan from the start. I hit the ground running.
Nice.
And one of the most interesting projects I did, what we're standing on right here, is the remains of my driveway.
Oh.
I could park like 6 cars. Of course I never did, but there could have been 6 cars parked here.
Oh my gosh.
And a friend and I took out the driveway and just left this sidewalk. And I have a shed and all this grape trellis, a 18-year-old English walnut tree. There's production, there's food production, there's practical usage where there used to be a driveway.
A concrete, right?
Yeah.
They say concrete is forever, but it's not necessarily forever, right?
I learned about taking out a driveway, and it was awesome fun. And we saved the concrete to use as for me, landscape features. We cut this up. We didn't do a jackhammer.
Right.
We used the concrete afterwards.
So all of these edges that we're seeing here, and the edges of the pond and the raised bed, this is all the old driveway?
It is.
Wow.
It's upside down, of course.
Oh.
This is.
Yeah.
And this is even where we cut. Just if you're inspired to do this and you want to do it yourself, you don't have to cut all the way through 4 inches of concrete. You don't want to do that.
I think that's the voice of experience, right?
It is.
And it just looks so nice. It looks so rustic, and it's going to add heat to your raised bed areas.
This right here is essentially 18 years worth of moss growing on concrete, because that used to be underground right there.
Yeah.
So it's a great example of reclaiming automobile space. Cars just take up too much space.
Yeah.
So this is just a chance for me to manifest a different vision.
Right. And I'm noticing that you do a tremendous amount with vines and with trellising. Then another way of using space in a non-traditional way. I like to talk about gardening in 3 dimensions. Everything doesn't have to just be a flat garden. You can actually use all this great above headspace. And I love how it's right here on an area that's flat. It's really close to the house, so you can watch it and see when things ripen.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy and safe to harvest from because it's not too tall. It probably kind of keeps the birds and things away because there's people here all the time and they can't just sneakily grab all your food.
There's plenty for them too, but the birds aren't much of an issue with this.
Yeah?
And this trellising also is up on top, the rooftop of this shed
nice.
Here. And I harvest these grapes. I make grape juice out of these. And these are interlocking. They're a totally common type of grape. Awesome grape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so this is
here.
just fun. It's beautiful. It's shady. And like you said, this is a walkway. This is the in and out of my property, but I have food being produced. like right there, and it looks nice too.
Right. I mean, to walk in to a house and have this feeling of abundance and enclosure at the same time. I mean, it's a beautiful design choice and makes lots of great food.
Easy to do.
Yeah.
Easy to do. Nothing magic.
Let's see some other things.
Okay.
So we go this way?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this would be a traditional front yard, right?
It was a traditional front yard.
But it's not that anymore, is it?
It's not a traditional front yard anymore. I'm hoping it becomes that way.
Oh, yes.
I love to see people doing creative repurposing of their front yards. And here in my neighborhood, a small but appreciable number of people are doing some version of this here and there around my neighborhood. Every year I see more, but it's still not the new normal. But it's not as unusual as it used to be.
That's nice. I like that. Yeah, so you've got, I mean, I can look back here to where the entrance was, and I can't even see it. You've got this amazing banana here. What zone are we in here in Eugene?
What's the zone is 8B.
Yeah, 8B.
And almost, not quite, I think our average low in that type of measurement, we're about 18 is the average low for the winter time here.
The average low or the extreme low?
The extreme low.
Oh, yeah.
The average extreme low over the years.
Yeah.
We're at 8B right now.
Yeah, I don't normally think of bananas in 8B,
well,
but you got it, right? There it is.
This is totally ornamental. This doesn't make anything to eat. I just kind of like these kind of plants.
Well, sure, why not?
There's some plants here that wouldn't fit in a totally orthodox permaculture landscape like this windmill palm I planted right here. I used to live in Texas and I had all this kind of stuff, and I like palm trees and banana trees. I don't care to live in the tropics, but I like some of that look. So yeah, I moved here from Texas in about 1991. That was about the time I did my permaculture intensive design course in Austin. But here is the first place I've had a chance to actually manifest all of that permaculture. So I brought the idea, the enjoyment of some of these kinds of plants, the banana trees, the palm trees, because I had a lot of that where I lived in Texas. But again, this is part of the aesthetics. So it's, I think, fine to have a few exotics.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's your house. If you like the look of it, then you should be growing it, right?
And I like to see these kinds of plants too.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
So, yeah, there is an aesthetic thing, and if a place makes you feel good, that's healthy.
Absolutely,
That's healthy.
Now, speaking of healthy, I'm noticing back here that there's what looks like a cistern for water harvesting.
Right. This is a 1,600 gallon water tank, and I have two of these.
Wow.
And this just comes off the roof. And this was an early part of the plan. I moved these onto the property early on, and a good cautionary advice is that if somebody's designing a property, try to anticipate what you're going to be doing over the years and get the big stuff on site first.
Right.
Because moving this size of a tank around, I couldn't do this much anymore because I've got things growing where there didn't used to be stuff growing.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is tucked back here. I mean, what, there's maybe 20 feet between the front walkway and this, and I don't see it. You know, this is a beautiful hidden design element that's capturing water off your roof, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And then, of course, you're going to need to water your stuff. And so to site an element like this right close to where you're going to be using it, right next to your garden, right next to the roof, but to hide it so that nobody sees you have this massive cistern, I mean, it's beautiful design.
Well, it's a practical, as you know, Laura, any kind of a site is going to help design itself too.
Yes.
And this is a good example. This is like right next to the house. There's the downspout. The gutter used to run to the west. I had to reverse the gutter to drain in this direction, but there's nothing complicated here. My property is flat, So I just elevate my cisters just a little bit, and it's not the kind of water pressure that a person is going to use a lawn sprinkler. You're not going to use a lawn, but you don't need to use a lawn sprinkler.
Right.
So I have my own water distribution system for the summertime. I don't have that out now.
Right.
But it's very simple, it's very low tech, and it works.
There you go. Perfect. All right, let's see some other things.
Okay.
So now you told me that this side yard here used to have a laurel hedge in it. Is that right?
It did.
But there's no laurel here now.
There's not.
Smart. You're smart. Get that laurel out of here. But I bet there's a story here, right?
Yeah, there is a good story.
Yeah.
There was a laurel hedge here. It was a typical laurel hedge. A wonderful screening between the two properties because the hedge was right on the property line. And it was 15 feet high. This walkway, it was like walking in a canyon because it went up. I pruned it. It liked to be pruned.
Oh, yeah.
Because that gave an excuse to come back even more.
Uh-huh.
But my next door neighbor also has an interest in permaculture and biodynamics and these kinds of property enhancements.
Yeah.
So it was even his idea that we get rid of the laurel hedge.
Nice.
So we did. He suggested it to me, and I said, well, sure.
So you came together with your neighbor, who you obviously know, right? Which is great to know your neighbors, and you just started taking it out.
Yeah, within 15 minutes we were pulling this out. My neighbor had the gear, like big chains, and a Chevy Suburban with a trailer hitch. And these were big.
Oh yeah.
And this was like old growth.
Oh yeah.
They were like that big.
Yeah.
And with a fair amount of effort, we did pull these out, and then we have both of us edible landscaping on our respective sides of the fence. But the story is, neither one of us could have done that on our own. This took two neighbors collaborating, working with each other for the benefit of both.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to have a really nice suburban permaculture project, but the scale of transformation needs to go way beyond this.
Yeah. That's a great story.
Yeah,
Now
I love it.
I can see we've got some very cool things back here.
Okay.
Let's see what else we've
Right.
got. Oh, Jan, this is lovely. I mean, my gosh. Is that an olive? Look at this. Oh my goodness. And these, like, if you take these in the house, do they ripen?
I have in past years, I've harvested olives, and I have eaten the olives from this tree. I think it needs a pollinator to be more productive.
But you still get some.
Yeah, they're not big. This is not a commercial operation, but yeah, these are olives. The tree is probably about 10 or 12 years old. I've moved it several different locations on the property, but this is where it's going to stay.
That is gorgeous. Again, has that kind of tropical feel to it.
Oh yeah, olives are kind of a semi-exotic, sure.
And this looks like a citrus.
It is.
What?
That is a lemon tree.
Like, wow. I don't even know what to say. I didn't think you could grow citrus here.
Well, you can if you want to, but you've got to want to, because you have to be prepared to cover the tree when we do have cold weather.
Right.
Like I said, this is an 8B. We're in 8B, and that's not citrus country.
No.
So I have to cover this maybe 10 or 12 or 13 times over the winter. You know, 3 days here, 2 days there, maybe 4 days there, and I take it off. It's not like covering it for 3 months. I don't do that. I cover it for a few days because, of course, here in Eugene, even in the middle of winter, we can go 3 weeks, a month without a freeze.
Right.
But it gets cold enough most winters that it would damage the tree.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to do that because it's such a groove just to have a big citrus
I mean, it's a
in the
beautiful
backyard.
tree, but oh my gosh, the yield on this. I mean,
there's
dozens and dozens of fruits on this tree.
hundreds.
Oh, yeah. And they're big. I mean, look at this. They're just incredibly beautiful. So this lovely structure, I'm betting you built this, right?
Pretty much mostly, yeah.
Wow, and so you've added a whole structure to your backyard.
Well, there's kind of an ideal that most cities are realizing. We can't keep sprawling out into the countryside. And already half of Americans live in suburbia. And suburbia is kind of its trademark is low residential density. So part of the ideal, the state of Oregon, the city of Eugene, is to increase residential density. Because of course here in Oregon, we have an urban growth boundary. We're supposed to confine growth within this boundary. And a big part of that is residential density. So this allows me to increase the residential density here on my property. But also it allows me to increase my income because I rent rooms in my house. So this is a conscientious financial investment right here. Plus it's a pretty cool house too.
It is. It's beautiful. And I love how you've got the perimeter of the yard encircled with all of these beautiful edible trees, peaches and apples and figs. So you know, you have that feeling of enclosure. But you've got the open area here in the center between the two structures, so it doesn't feel too tight, but both houses get to enjoy all of the bounty around the edges and the clear space in the center. I mean, it's a beautiful design.
Yeah, well, it designs itself. I mean, there is a perimeter, and you want to be conscious, of course, where the tall items are, because you don't want to shade some of the other things that need sun, like just a regular typical garden. But I put a fair amount of thought into what I was going to plant where. But again, it's a lot of common sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I see you've got a really interesting strategy here where you've got some very large plants inside.
No, let's say it's a passive solar design of this house right here. Yeah, you can kind of walk in here.
Oh, this is so nice. This is just really airy. I mean, for a small structure, it feels really big.
Oh, sure it is. This could accommodate a couple of people really easily. I mean, if they were friendly. But it does have a solar aspect to it. And I have kind of a core space, which is my living space. And then I cover up all this area where you see these plants. That all is a different space in the wintertime. So I only heat a small space. But if it's a nice sunny day, I can pull some of the room separator back and get some of that solar heat.
So, like, this is a curtain rod.
Exactly.
And you would put a heavy curtain here.
Yeah.
So the heat is concentrated in your living space.
And all across the top up there too. Yeah.
And then these plants, oh, it's just, wow. This is gorgeous back here. This feels so lush. And these will do okay with the sun that comes through the greenhouse?
Yeah, they'll
ceiling?
grow. They're fine. Yeah, it doesn't freeze in here. It gets chilly, but it doesn't freeze in here. So these are my kind of potted ornamental plants that are outside in the summertime, but it's time to bring them in right now.
What a treat.
Yeah, no, it's really pretty. I love plants.
It must be so nice to take a chair and just sit in here with a nice hot cup of tea, listen to the rain on the roof.
To be underneath the rain when the rain's coming down on the glass.
Wow.
Or the moon's coming through. Again, this is aesthetic design.
Oh, so nice. All right.
Yeah, it's just a joy, and it's a productive place. This is where I sleep, my office, my workspace, and I do a lot of work on the computer in terms of educational projects, you know, radio program, when I get around to it, a blog for Mother Earth News, and I also have Zoom presentations that I do. So it's an inspiration, and it's easy for me to work on those projects when where I live just feels so good.
Right.
Again, that's just the aesthetics of it.
And it feeds you.
It does.
So you can write about what you're experiencing.
Exactly, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Wow, very nice. So I see that as part of your apartment, your new accessory dwelling unit, you've built some storage space. And I see you've got compost bins right here, and I love the placement of this because they're right next to your greenhouse where you can bring food waste and put them in there, and they're right next to your gardens where you would use your compost. And you've also got chickens right here. Again, really well sited right next to the greenhouse where they can get the greens that you don't want, and then you can shovel their poop and either into the compost bin to age or into the garden, right?
Yeah, no, it's a nice little system here.
Yeah.
Sure.
This looks great. And there they are. They're all fat and happy.
Yeah, I
and
just have 3, yeah.
I'm also seeing another water tank here.
It's another water tank.
Wow. This is big. How many gallons does this capture?
This is a 3,000 gallon water tank.
Wow.
It's about 8 feet high from the bottom of the tank up to here, and it's about 8 feet in diameter. That's 3,000 gallons.
Wow. And then here's your pretty simple little hose to take it into the greenhouse, into the regular garden.
Yeah. I catch rainwater off the roof of my accessory dwelling unit.
Right.
And it goes into this tank. And I have this tube here. This is the water level right now. I don't think I even got down to here.
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's right there.
That's the water level.
Huh?
So one of the most interesting stories with catching rainwater, especially if you have a clear plastic tube to show where the water is in the winter time you can experience a rain, and you can see how that affects the rise in water in the tank.
Oh yeah.
And then of course in the summertime, when you're taking water out of the tank because you've got to water your garden, because here in the Pacific Northwest it doesn't rain much in the summer.
Right.
But you can track and get a sense of how much water you use. And I think most people, they just pay their water bill and have little conception of what 1,000 gallons of water looks like.
Yeah.
Doing this kind of thing that I like to call home economics of food, energy, water, when we start to produce more of what we need and have a personal involvement, we gain a lot more of a sense of what our lifestyles require.
Yeah, what the cost really is.
What the cost really is. And the overall culture of convenience and affluence kind of lost track of that, and it's very much to our collective disadvantage. Absolutely. So I have a very good sense of how much water I need for my garden. And in a normal year, I've got about enough of water storage. I can water my garden. But this tank right here is also food grade plastic. This doesn't have chlorine in it. So you still need to clean up the water because there's a little debris in the bottom of the tank. But this is easy water to make drinkable. You know, just with your stainless steel 2-gallon Berkey ceramic filter, this is resilience right here. You know, if we have an accident or for some reason the city water doesn't show up.
An earthquake. This is a seismically active zone.
It is a seismically active
I don't
zone.
think this is going to fall over.
Oh, I hope not. But the other ones have a lower center of gravity too.
Yeah.
But this is my preferred tank right here.
Yeah.
Because this one I did buy new. The other ones I bought used.
Right.
So, but it's great. And I have a lot of foliage over the tank to keep it cool, because you ideally don't want to have your tank out in a sunny place.
Sure, of course.
But again, all this kind of elevated landscaping, these are all grapes up above us and above the tank, and kind of moving a little further over to that part of the property.
And although I'm sure the water doesn't get hot, I'm sure it does gather some heat and also radiates that out, so that the peaches and the grapes, the things that want that heat, have that nighttime heat in their root zone. Maybe. Couldn't hurt.
Yeah,
right?
it wouldn't hurt.
It couldn't
It wouldn't hurt.
So I guess you get to be grateful and prepared. right?
Well, you know, certainly one of the most popular design principles of permaculture is to design for multiple benefits. What is a design that's going to deliver lots of good stuff?
Right.
And that's a good design principle.
Yes.
And the tank, and it even provides a little habitat for all this, which at some point I'm going to scrape all that moss off.
So I see right here we have another beautiful little sunroom spot. Can we go in there and take a look at it?
We can.
Awesome. Oh, it smells good in here.
It smells like plants.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, look at all these. Yeah, you were saying about nut collection, right?
Oh, sure. Those are filberts. Yeah.
Oh, and what a perfect place to dry everything out.
Yeah, those came from elsewhere. I wish those came from my filbert trees, but you know, and the squirrels get all my filberts. But yeah, I love to glean and forage.
Right.
I just had last night some pasta sauce with some shaggy tops that grow here on my property.
Yeah, mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, nice. And look at all these lovely citrus. Oh, look at these! Look just like little celebrations. Look
That's
at the
right.
color on that.
Yeah, citrus does really well in pots. These are probably all dwarf rootstock, I would imagine. But yeah, go ahead and pull it off. Maybe we should get you a little camera exposure and bite into that, and we'll see it live.
So this is not a sweet one?
Go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Oh
is
my gosh.
And you only took a little bite right there too.
Oh.
If you did a full treatment, you'd be flopping on the floor right now.
You know, the rind is the sweetest part here.
It is.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's a totally
Oh my
eat
gosh,
the whole
that's
thing.
so good.
It's a cross between a mandarin and a kumquat. Yeah.
What a lovely spot.
So again, this was an outdoor patio. This is on the south side of my house right here. And somebody had closed this in years before I bought the house. But a friend and I rebuilt it. But it makes me think that every house ought to have a passive solar space.
All right, because this, I'm sure, gathers the heat from the sun coming through, and so then you just open up the doors and allow that heat to pass into the rest of the house.
Sure, this place helps heat my house, but not to suggest that in the wintertime it's tropical in here. It's not. You have to be realistic. Even wonderful ideas aren't magic. But if it's a 45-degree rainy day and it's all cloudy, it's 50 degrees in here, and you're not feeling like hanging out in here.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it could be super cloudy and the rain pattering on the roof, and I'd sit in here and have a glass of tea. Are you kidding me?
Oh, absolutely.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, this is just another aspect of the place, that aesthetic, you know. It's just nice just to sit in here and be with the plants.
And then, of course, in the wintertime, they're going to be blooming. That citrus is going to be just the smell of that is going to be everywhere in here.
Yeah, there are times when you can smell the citrus just being in here. Yeah. So some of these plants are totally ornamental. This is actually one of my favorite. This is a dwarf edible banana.
Ooh.
I haven't grown any bananas yet, but you got to get the little ones and grow them big enough. So that, but they send out little pups.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a variety of ages, and I'm hoping that sometime within the next year or so, I'm going to start getting bananas, and they're all staggered. So hopefully, the ideal is that at some point I'll always have a little bunch of bananas to work on.
Well, and I've understood that you can take the leaves and then you can use them to wrap like rice and fish and vegetables in a little packet and then barbecue it or bake it, and the leaves will impart like a little bit of oil and some fragrance to what's inside. Kind of a little tropical treat.
I should try that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never had bananas to try it with, so You'll have to tell me how it works.
Yeah, well, these are not going to be big bananas. They're going to be small bananas.
Yeah.
But actually, a friend of mine curates the University of Washington Pharmacology Garden
Oh, wow.
in Seattle.
Yeah.
And they've got all kinds of greenhouses on campus. And I've seen one of these full size with bananas on it. This could grow maybe this high.
And it would produce bananas
And
at 5 feet tall.
I've seen it there in the greenhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, they're at the University of Washington. Yeah.
Something to shoot for.
It's inspiring.
Well, this has been a real treat, Jan. Thank you so much. What a great spot you've made here.
Well, it's one of my favorite actions. One of my favorite pastimes is show and tell. You can tell, I love to point things out and explain stuff. Yeah, no, and I think it's great that you guys are doing these videos, because there's lots of other places in the Northwest that deserve some video time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we will take our leave, go find some more of those places and make some more videos. Again, it's lovely to see you.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you, Laura. Yeah, and we'll maybe update again sometime.
Absolutely. Take care.
Okay.
Bye from Eugene. Jan and Laura say see you next time.